my dad.
And this is my daughter.
I am Tanya Lee Davis.
And I'm Cato.
And I've been doing comedy for over 36 and a half years all over the world.
And I've been a pilot, airline pilot, bush pilot, pilot of fortune for many, many, many years.
So else we got a guy that looks like Colonel Saunders and a dwarf. So if this isn't worth watching, I don't know what is.
That's right. And I do like Colonel Saunders, and I like his chicken.
Okay. Remember, actually, now that you mentioned that, that reminds me, Henry the Chicken.
Henry, yes.
Remember the stories.
Yes.
So my dad, I get my storytelling comedy ability from this man right here. And when I was a kid, before you guys got divorced, I believe you would make bedtime stories, but you would make up your own stories, and they all involved Henry the Chicken. Do you remember any of those?
Henry, well, yeah, I just ran with that. I ad-libbed it, really. It was, that was before my brain was fried, but Henry was a free-range chicken.
Yes, he was.
And he was always being pursued by the Colonel.
Yeah.
And it was stories about how he evaded the Colonel and even got caught by the Colonel and escaped. But didn't he end up getting fried almost every episode? Yeah, but that wasn't in the fryer.
My bedtime story. Yeah, he was fried, but not in that way.
Yeah, he had a permanent roach clip.
This is how my childhood started, everybody. So if that doesn't tell you why I ended up the way I am.
Well, he had a drinking problem, too. I mean, he's at the trough all the time.
But that's where, Grandpa Davis used to make up stories. He had an organ, right? A piano, like an organ with the double layers with all the funny buttons and tabs. And he didn't read a lick of music, right? But he just
This is my father we're talking about.
Yeah, he just created stories.
Yeah, he was actually a very accomplished musician, and he played the French horn, he played the violin, although he never did much of it when we were around, but his main love was the piano and the organ.
Yeah.
And he would make up new lyrics to old songs. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking stuff in the 1930s and stuff that he used to. I grew up with that crap. I mean, it was like I'd wake up on a Saturday morning or something, or a day when my dad was a pilot too, so it came by naturally. But I'd be listening. There was a song back. I don't know who made it or what it was, but the lyric, or maybe it was the title, was called "They Tried to Tell Us We're Too Young." And that was the way. So my father would be on the piano, and I'd hear this from my bedroom, and he'd be going, "They tried to sell us egg foo young." And anyway.
I vaguely recall that.
And meanwhile, he's cooking pea soup in the kitchen. Ugh.
Oh, God.
But that's how you wake up some mornings.
Yeah,
So,
I have fond memories of Grandpa just tootling around.
Yeah, we lost him too soon, but he was.
Yeah, his nickname was Bing.
Bing, and he was Bing.
Yeah,
they called him Bing because he used to play the piano and sing like Bing Crosby.
Oh,
that's why they nicknamed him Bing.
I had no idea.
Yep. And mind you, his given name was Irving.
Irving Keeler.
Like, who wants to be called Irving?
Right. Irving Keeler.
And then his brother was Kent, and that's where I got my name, and that's why I changed it to Cato.
Yeah. And we have an Irish background, is that right? Because you mentioned something about Grandpa going to Ireland at one point.
You know something? I grew up thinking we had a Welsh background.
Oh, okay.
And but one of my cousins,
the ballerina,
on my Uncle Kent's side, they did that. What do you call it?
Genealogy.
Yeah. So they got the family history back, and basically, we all came from over, but this one went back to coming to America, and my father's ancestors all came to Connecticut and Massachusetts back by sailing ship. Yeah. I mean, not as far back as the Mayflower, but and then they became United Empire Loyalists.
Oh.
which, if you're an American, that means that they were traitors.
Ooh, da, da, da.
They actually had lived in upstate, what is now upstate New York, and New Hampshire and Vermont, and they moved when the War of 1812 broke out. They moved across what the border was and into Canada because they were loyal to the crown. Oh. And all the people who did that were designated as United Empire Loyalists, and that UEL. And believe it or not, now of course I had nothing to do with it. I was not that old, almost, but I can, if I so desire, put that designator at the end of my name.
Oh, wow.
And UEL. Cato Davis, UEL. But now that I live in the United States and I'm an American citizen, I don't want to get stoned.
Right.
Well, I want to get stoned.
Not in that way.
not that way. So we came from various parts of England and Scotland and Ireland and Wales. But on my mother's side, it was all Scottish. My grandfather came from Scotland.
Scotland.
Aye.
That's why I have such a connection with it. It's my favorite country in the entire world to perform. Scottish people are just the best. If you ever go to a party and there's a Scottish person, it's going to be a good party. I mean, I find Irish, Welsh, and Scottish people just to be up for a good old crack, as they say. But English people, man, they're the ones that really got the burrs up their asses and stuff.
That's why it's a mess over there.
Yeah. Scotland, they're just really, and they don't get hung up about the disability stuff, too. They just go, get on with it, girl. We like the wee lass with the nice ass.
Well, look at the times we've had there together. I mean, look at that trip we did when I came over. You were performing in Edinburgh.
Yep. So the Stand Comedy Club in Scotland is my favorite comedy chain, and they have Edinburgh, Glasgow, and Newcastle. And I was doing the weekend in Edinburgh, and then the following weekend in Glasgow.
That's right.
So you flew out, and we did. So you hung out with me for the Friday, Saturday night while I did my shows, and then we rented or hired a car, and we decided to go on a little daddy-daughter road trip. And so we left Edinburgh and went back through Glasgow, and I think we went through Fort William. And then we went all the way. This was before GPS, like proper GPS on the phone. So I had a paper map, right? And you're a great navigator, but I love to navigate. So I had the big map, and I was like, oh, here's a line that doesn't even have a number on it. That looks like it might be exciting. Yeah. And next, we're on a cliff.
Yeah, Scotland is an interesting place to do a road trip in that you go, it's what really surprised me was the lack of trees in many of the areas.
Yeah.
And I was trying, as I'm driving through there, I'm trying to figure out now, back in the old days, did they cut all the trees down and burn them, or make housing and everything else, or is this just the natural landscape? Yeah. And I never did get an answer to that. But regardless, it's a beautiful country, especially when you're near the ocean. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of countries are, but Scotland, the sheep with their little colors on the...
Yeah, well, we were going along. It was literally a gray road, didn't have a number on it, and it was, I don't even know if it was paved. And we were driving along. It literally dropped off down there, and so here we are. And then we came around a bend, and it was sheep. We couldn't even go anywhere. We had to sit there and you try to inch forward or wait for the sheep to go by. And, it was just, and like you said, it's so bare. It's like being on a different planet because it's so barren and there's big rolling hills and valleys and just the landscape. At some point, it looks like it had all been burned. Mm-hmm. These kind of crater-looking things.
The other thing you have to remember is that sheep lie. So
is that a personal thing?
No. Anyone who knows that joke will know what I'm talking about. Oh,
God. If you want to hear shitty jokes, my dad's your guy. Yeah, my entire childhood.
I can't tell them on here. Yeah. We'll get banned.
It's always a dirty joke.
We went, I think, as far north as Inverness.
Well, okay,
Scotland.
so I remember at one point we went up Fort William and we came up and then we took a ferry across to one of the islands, and I think it was the Isle of Skye or I think it's the Isle of Skye, or I want to say Isle of Skye or Isle of Man. Anyway, and so now we are on this little, and it's like one road you can go around, and I've got the map, and all of a sudden there's ruins, like church ruins. That's one of my favorite things. I love old churches in Europe. The headstones go back to the 1100s.
That'll make the Pope happy.
Yep. Yes, doing my part. We're cruising along, and all of a sudden now we see some cars parked, and they were parking on either side of the road to go look at these picturesque ruins.
Yep.
And you pulled over to the side, and there was a car that came around you, pulled up in front of you, and as we're unloading, a kid got out of that car and he ran across the street towards the ruins, and another car was coming and just clocked this kid, and all we saw was this body go flying, and luckily
he went a long way too.
He did, but he landed on the grassy bit between the road and the stone wall that was surrounding the cemetery, and of course everybody's like, oh, I think you went running over there, and they had to call an ambulance, which First of all,
I was fortunate enough that I had my signs with me, because the minute he hit the ground and stopped, I 7.9.
You didn't rotate all the way.
That's right. And hand down, or he went across.
Yeah, you didn't nail that landing. There he is thinking, well, we didn't know if he was alive or not after that point. And so we ended up taking off and continuing our journey. And we ended up coming around, and instead of taking a ferry off the island, we took a bridge. And while we were driving, the roads, what people don't know if you haven't been to Europe, the roads are very narrow, right? And the cars, at times you're having to overtake or cross over, and, you're driving halfway off the road. And so you're cruising along and you hit a rock. And we're like, okay, no worries, you just kind of clip something. Well, then we were coming off the island on this bridge, and all of a sudden we're like, flat tire. Yeah, and we're like, oh.
And then the cop stopped.
Yep, so you pulled over, and the cops pulled up and helped you. And then we said, oh, we just seen a kid get hit. And they're like, he's okay, he broke his leg, but we actually got an update on the kid, so that was nice to hear. Yeah. There's a picture, I think, on the wall behind me of us from that trip. Actually, I think it was from one of the bars. Of course, we had to frequent the bars. That way.
I think that was where that stone thing was, just outside of Inverness. That's where we got the car fixed, or the tire. I had to eat that tire. The terminology in that I thought, okay, well,
it was shredded or something.
But it would. That was like 60 or 70 pounds for that tire to get fixed.
We went up to Plockton. That's far north as we went. Plockton, I believe, is quite considerably north, if not west of Inverness. Yeah. And the last night we spent in Inverness, because then you took me to Glasgow for my weekend show. So
that's right. And we were late getting back with the car.
It was torrential, wasn't it?
1 hour late, and they charged me for a full day. I was just so pissed.
Yeah. And we had amazing weather. Absolutely, like for April in the UK, and just to wear like a cardigan or a jumper was amazing weather. Blue skies, and of course the views that we had were phenomenal. And then the day that we were going back from Inverness to Glasgow, it was torrential. It was back to the good old UK weather. So it was nice that we had one solid good week.
But some of those little villages on the ocean that we went through were so picturesque. I mean, it was like a postcard picture. Yeah. I mean, it was just so
That's
nice.
When my friend Bob, Scottish Bob I call him, he took me up to Plockton a couple of years before, so I had spent the night there, and it is one of those places where visually it is just so picturesque with the mountains and the water and the colored boats. Like, I just have this imagery in my mind of the little harbor area. And the people.
And everywhere we went, everybody was so friendly. I mean, there are many places I've lived where there's tourists, and you get sick of the tourists. Yep. But the people there just seem to, they certainly, if they didn't like you, they didn't show it. They were always very, accommodating. You needed directions or where's the hotel, where's something to eat. Everybody was so nice, and that was a very enjoyable week spent there.
The only issue is obviously for me with accessibility. You know, they're trying to. You go to these small little villages and trying to find a handicap accessible room is virtually impossible. Obviously, I was moving much better back then, so we would either leave my scooter in the car and I would walk up into the rooms or whatever.
Good thing I had that long rope. I could wrap it around you and get you up to the second floor of the hotel. Absolutely. Tie the bumper and through the window. And
down again. But
that was an excellent trip. And what was the other one we did? It was Birmingham.
Birmingham.
When you were
Birmingham.
When you were sick.
Yeah. So in 2012, my now husband Kevin and I, we have quite the extensive love story. We got back together, and after 14 years. And of course, we got back together. So I went to visit him in North Carolina, and I was like, I better get on birth control. And so we were banging away like rabbits, and
you don't tell your father that stuff.
How do you think I got here? I know you. Anyway.
I don't know how you got here. What do you think I divorced your mother for?
I was doing some shows in Florida, and Kevin came down from North Carolina, and that's when we officially got back together. Once again, doing shows, we're at the beach, we're getting it on like Donkey Kong, and then I flew to the UK, and I woke up a day after I got there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had such a bad pain in this area, and I was like cramping up, and I tried to walk, and just this intense pain. And long story short, I have a blood clot, and it turns out from the birth control. And it's an entire Edinburgh show of this whole diatribe of the story of my blood clot. But I ended up in the hospital, the Queen's Hospital in Birmingham, England, and so they finally got me on medication to kind of, because when I got off the birth control, I started hemorrhaging, and I was literally stuck there. And I had
a fibroid or something?
I had, not only did I had a blood clot, but then I had a fibroid from that, which was causing me to hemorrhage. So I ended up having like 8 blood transfusions.
Joys of being a woman.
I know. Oh, it was horrible. There's so much to this story. But anyway, at one point, when they felt like they finally got the bleeding under control, you flew over to help because I couldn't do my tour. I just needed to figure out what was going on.
Let me stop you there because me getting there, we live west of Orlando, an hour and a half or so. So I jump in the car and off to Orlando Airport, and I'm going to take. I was working for Air Canada then. No, I had retired then. Sorry. Yep. But I still got passes. I can travel at reduced rates and sometimes free. So I had it all booked, or not booked, but I'm all set to go from Orlando to Toronto to London, and then I'm going to take a train from London to Birmingham. The flights, space-wise, it's space available, so everything looked good. So I get on the Air Canada flight in Orlando, and I'm in business class or first class, whatever. We taxi out, and we get to the end of the thing. We're ready for takeoff. Captain comes on and says, we got a mechanical problem. We're going back to the gate. So they go back to the gate, and I realized I had 2 hours in Toronto, and it's not going to work. Oh. So I thought, okay, if I get to Toronto, I have less chance of getting, because it's going to get late, and the flights to London, or I think it was down to one flight. So I said, I'm out of here. So I they pulled into the gate, and I talked my way to get off of the aircraft, and I went back into the terminal, and I got on my phone, or maybe I had my laptop, or no, my tablet, and I looking for a flight, and Virgin Atlantic had a flight in about an hour and a half to London, and it was empty. I mean, absolutely empty. So I went over and I talked to this guy, and I told him, I said, told him my story about Air Canada and everything else, and then he goes, oh, you work for Air Canada? Yeah, 30-some years. And, well, here, let me do some little, and he got me a really good one-way fare to London, and I got on the airplane. I mean, I had the entire airplane to myself. It was empty.
Yeah.
So it was because we were just before Christmas. This was winter.
This was in mid-December. Yep, correct.
And anyway, off I went, and then I got a train up to Birmingham, and
Birmingham. It's Birmingham, Alabama, and it's Birmingham, England.
I don't care. It's Birmingham. And I slept almost the entire train trip to Birmingham.
And I had been living in Vegas at the time, I was bebopping around, so kind of had a home base in Vegas at the time. So because I had was traveling every other month to the UK at that point, I really racked up points with Virgin Atlantic, and there was a gal, one of the head people for Virgin, Sharon, became a good friend of mine, and we messaged back and forth, and I emailed her and I said, listen, here's the situation. I'm really sick and I need to leave the UK. My dad's going to be with me. We need to be on the same flight back to Las Vegas. And so she arranged everything. We pretty much, same thing. We had the airplane.
Yeah, it was empty.
I had three seats to myself, which is like a king-size bed.
747-400, and it was like nobody on it. Both ways. I've never experienced that. I mean, that's in many ways better than first class because you got a whole row. We just sleep.
Well, I needed to have my leg elevated and everything. So that worked out really well. And so I flew to Vegas. We spent the night. Then I think you took me back
Hooters.
to we stayed at
the Hooters Hotel.
Because we're that kind of classy.
Yep, I got a Hooters girl that night too. they throw that in when you get over 1,000 points. Tossing a Hooter girl.
There you go.
So,
and so then I flew back up to Canada. I ended up staying with my mom I lived with mom for a couple of months.
Back to Orlando.
Yeah, and
Tampa.
you flew.
I'm not sure which one. I think Christy picked me up there. So.
Yeah. So that was. That was basically a rescue operation.
But, I remember I would leave the hotel and go back. You had me in this flea bag hotel, which was fine. I had said, I can't afford to stay.
It was probably a travel lodge, right? That's usually
it was an old hotel. It was right in the center, but it had this room was not much more than a closet with a bed in it. But something I remember about when I got in there the night, when I got into Birmingham, I went to the hospital to see you. And it was late in the afternoon, and I was still exhausted. So I went to see you for a while, and then I went to the hotel and checked in. And they take me to this broom closet that I was staying in. And I thought, if I go to bed now, I'm going to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to tough this out. So I was hungry. I went to bed. I went to there's a pub right across the street from it. So
of course, what are the odds?
So pub food and some beers, and about 9 o'clock, I went back to the hotel and I turned the TV on. And in the United States, they had the Sandy Hook shooting had just taken place, which was, I believe, one of the first or the first school shootings. We unfortunately now have become all too common, but I mean, it was like I was ready to go to bed, and I start watching this thing. I got glued to this TV, and I was up till like 11 o'clock. And then I slept in till about 9:30.
And we went out for, I think when I got discharged, before we flew out, remember
you had a discharge too.
When Gary, my comedian pal Gary Delaney, we went out for...
There was a guy who had his own show on television that picked us up.
Yeah, I think that might have been
He
Gary.
and his wife. Oh. There was a guy and his wife who is very well known in England.
Gary's married to Sarah, who's massive, and they're both in their own right phenomenal comedians and huge in the UK. But yeah, I'm proud to call them my pals. But yeah, we
went to a home building store or something for some reason. I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Like a Home Depot almost, but it was.
Yeah, they call it B&Q is their Home Depot version.
I remember there was a little bit of snow on the ground, just traces of it, but it was cold. It was wet and cold. Sunny, but wet and cold that morning that you got out of there. And then we went to London, didn't we?
We would have had to have flown out of London.
We took the train down, and then we got on Virgin Atlantic, and we went to a Holiday Inn and spent the night at the Holiday Inn at Gatwick Airport.
Yes.
And I remember that because you were in the room still. You still weren't that well.
Yeah, no, I just
and I went to the pub, which they happen to have there. Surprise, me in a pub, and I got to it was kind of in the lobby type pub.
Yeah.
And so I like English beer. I mean, some of the best beer in the world is English beers. But I sat there, and there's just a couple of people there. And geez, but within the hour, you couldn't move in this bar. It was like packed. And so here another early night went by the wayside. And so I stagger back to the room, and then we headed to Vegas and to spend the night in the Hooters Hotel.
Yeah, we've had some fun times in Vegas because I lived in Vegas for 7 years with my first husband. And so I had some pretty awesome parties. And my 40th birthday, we can talk about my 40th birthday party, remember? My ex-husband, Marty, worked for the MGM Mirage Corporation. So he was a poker dealer at the Mirage. So I got discounts. So I planned my 40th birthday like almost a year before. I contacted the MGM
Corp. It was 40.
Yeah, it was my 40th. I contacted them to see what sort of employee discount I could get, and I rented a room for Sunday and the Sunday and the Monday night. My birthday, I think, fell on the Sunday that year, and I rented like a suite, big, huge suite at the Mandalay Bay, floor to ceiling windows, like on 3 sides, 2 bedrooms. It was luxurious, and so my friends are the Twins Dueling Piano Show in Las Vegas. At Harrah's, I used to go there every weekend, and so we started the party on the Thursday, and I think I had people from like 4 different countries come for my 40th birthday.
Yeah, my brother and his wife, and she's Colombian.
Yep.
Mark's from Canada.
I had my friend from France come. I had a bunch of people from Canada. Cousins I haven't seen for decades and stuff like that. Party.
It was cold though.
Yeah.
For Vegas, that was bitterly cold.
Yeah, the end of November.
Yep. And because I remember going out, my brother Mark, who was driving the boxy, what do you call those things? A cube or something they rented.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it was like, we weren't going that far to our hotels, but so the thing never warmed up.
Oh, God, yeah, of course.
Brutal.
Well, I remember that you were... So in this hotel room, had like a little bar area, and you're like, I'm going to be the bartender. So you and Christy went to the liquor store and just stocked up, and we were fully...
there was no shortage of booze.
And then, of course, they had a bunch of friends show up from California that brought weed chocolate and lollipops and stuff.
We had food in there, too.
Yeah, I think somehow we ended up with food.
It was
amazing.
But I remember, party, though.
We were on the 30-something floor, and of course, a lot of my friends...
I remember the panorama view of the...
Right up the Las Vegas Strip.
Ceiling to floor windows on this thing. And it was really cool.
And everything was automatic, so you could you could look right up the strip. And so a bunch of my friends were all smoking weed and stuff like that, so we didn't want to go down outside, so we had like 7 people in the shower. This bathroom had a massive shower, and so we're all hotboxing in the shower. I'm sucking on a weed lollipop. I'm like, if I gotta hang out with
that's not legal.
It's Vegas, right? What happens in Vegas?
Yeah. Anyway, don't talk any more about it because it should stay there.
Yeah. Well.
And then I came out I rode my motorcycle out there. Do you remember that? It was in the summertime. I rode out. I spent about 3 weeks out there.
Oh.
And Marty that's when we got you that car.
Oh, okay, right.
Remember,
yeah.
Your grandmother bought you.
That was before my surgery. I had spinal surgery.
My mother bought you that Hyundai.
Yep. Tucson.
Tucson, that was it.
We were just talking about that the other day.
And that's the time I was out with my motorcycle.
Oh, okay.
And I rode out, and that was a long trip, but it was a good trip coming out. I had bought myself a new Harley dresser. I mean, all the fairings and stuff. It was great for traveling. And because I remember I went from our place in Central Florida, to Tupelo, Mississippi, on the first day. That was a long. I rode for about 13 hours that day.
Holy crap!
And it was 1,000 miles or something like that. It was a long trip, and I got there. It was like they had to peel me off.
But so you drove your motorcycle to Vegas, but didn't we then drive our new car to California? Was that the same time? Like I was gearing up for my surgery?
No, that was you and I went. That was another time. Maybe it was that time, but we didn't take the new car.
Okay.
We rented a car.
Okay.
And we drove. I remember we took some back road out of Vegas over
Pahrump, somewhere that
right,
way?
But it was a back road. It wasn't a major highway.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got into somewhere just inside California, and there were fires in California then, like big time. And not the first night, well, you could smell and see the smoke, but because we spent the first night just in some place because we ran out of time.
Yeah.
And we went for dinner at it's a chain, big chain. And we sat at the bar and had dinner, surprise, and some beer. And then the next day we went to where you were performing, which was again we were in Northern California, but these fires, the smoke was so thick, it was like you were driving in the fog.
Right.
And we stayed at a motel. I remember I can't remember the name of the town. Really pretty.
Yeah.
And it was in these rolling hills.
Did we go through Valdosta? Wasn't there that? For some reason, that sticks in my head, and there was a lot of really.
in Georgia.
No, I think there's a. Oh, okay.
Just across the Florida.
Oh no! What's the name of the onions? There's an onion name. Is it Visalia or something?
Vidalia. Yeah.
Yeah. There.
You stayed in an onion?
There's a place in California. Anyway, it had all these lush flowers, and it was really.
Did it have that great appeal?
Oh, he's so punny. Everybody, get used to it.
Yeah, I had no skin in the game, so what can you say? But those fires were a real issue. In fact, the next day when we left, or maybe it was getting there were detours that I was on the way in there. We were on the road that we were supposed to take to get to this place, and the police had the road shut down because of the fires, and we had to detour like 50 miles out of the way.
I'm trying to remember that.
I
don't know what.
Let's say that we have this, Well, I don't remember that. Well, I remember that.
Yeah. Piecing patchwork the memories together.
Yeah, it was real. I mean, I wish we had seen it. It's beautiful country. It's too bad it's in California. That's the problem.
Yeah. But I had my spinal surgery in Santa Monica.
Yeah,
and
I
was living in Vegas, but the spinal surgeon was a specialist in dwarfism.
Yep.
So I remember you going out with me for one of those appointments, or was it my actual
Christy
surgery?
and I went to what was the name of what's the town that you had your surgery in?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. And we stayed in Santa Monica. Right. The three of us stayed together until you went in for your surgery, and we stayed for a couple of days after your surgery.
Okay.
And you were a mess after that.
Yeah, so I have a form of dwarfism, for those that don't know.
Filleted you.
a lot of little people have spinal issues, and it's and big people have it. It's spinal stenosis, so it's the narrowing of the spinal canal. So it was paralyzing my body. So I had my thoracic and my lumbar completely filleted like a fish. So I was in a body cast kind of for a couple of months that looked like a Ninja Turtle.
It did a lot of good at first. I mean, and then the scar tissue started to become an issue. Yeah, that's the problem.
And it stopped my body from paralyzing itself at that point. But then, nobody warned me about the scar tissue, so that's been a limiting factor. And now my neck, I have to get my neck done because of the same type of...
That reminds me of that girlfriend I had that had the phony tits, and, and the scar tissue would attach to her breastbone.
Oh, yeah.
And about once a month, I'd have to sit there and she'd put my fingers behind her tits, and they go... like this, and then man,
back to
just like normal.
Oh my God!
And then they get stiffer and stiffer.
Man, breast implants have come a long way since then.
Yeah, but this whole idea of scar tissue, this is a real problem with a lot of operations like you had and her and everything like that. It's not good.
You've had surgery on your knee there, right?
I did. I had a knee replacement in 1995 or 97, somewhere on there, or 98, somewhere.
Best thing you ever did?
Best thing I ever did. If you have a bad knee, get the surgery done. It's worth it. But make sure you get a good doctor. There's a lot of quacks out there.
Yeah. And you had cancer at one point, right?
Yep. I've had prostate cancer and skin cancer. But
I remember when you got prostate cancer, because your dad, my grandpa, passed away from...
He died of prostate cancer. Well, in fact... When my father died or was diagnosed with it, and I went to get checked, and boom.
Sure enough.
I was 47 years old and diagnosed. Now, it's a good thing I went because they caught it at the very beginning. It was hardly detectable. And I went and had radioactive seed implants.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have it done, like now I'm sure they have much, but if they didn't have to cut me open or anything like this. But quick story about that. I know it's not on topic.
Yeah, okay.
But I had this done in Tampa and at the University of South Florida. Great doctor. I mean, this guy was so good. And they called me a week before and they said, you have to come in because we have to do these seeds are put in by a needle and that we have to measure because it's important. The idea, correct me, there's probably a doctor out there who will say something, but my understanding of it is that the tumor is right there. They put these seeds right close to the tumor, and the seeds are radioactive, and they just emit a slight amount of radiation, enough to kill the tumor. And I don't know how many tumors there were, but they had to do this measurement because it has to be exact. So I go to the hospital on a Friday afternoon, and I rode my motorcycle over, because that's all I really was driving in those days. And I'm living over in Treasure Island, Florida, and I drive to Tampa. And I go in there, and I'm in this big, huge room, and it's got the operating stuff and all like this. And so I get onto this thing, and it's like it was a contraption which resembled what a woman would be, the stirrups, everything like this. And they've got a blanket or a cover over me like this, and I got my legs in the stirrup up like this, and my ass is hanging out like this.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, and the lights are all shining in like this.
It's your moment.
So anyway, they put these clamps up my ass, and they're doing all this stuff.
And you're awake for this?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's nothing painful about it. God. It's uncomfortable, but it's not painful. And, you can... and, something cold, and, the doctor's out there going... You having fun?
Licking his fingers.
There's a couple of them out there. They're doing all this. So this takes about half an hour. And okay, and I get dressed and everything like this, and I'm getting dressed, and I look across the room, and I see this big window with a curtain, and I go, "What's that?" And he starts to blush, and I go, "Is that a two-way mirror over there?" And I realize I'm in a teaching hospital.
Oh, no.
And I go, "Oh,
so everybody just got to see your mud whistle.
I'm thinking, how many nurses and doctor trainees are back there? I go, I'm going to go out of here. And I was thinking, I'm going to go for a cold beer when I leave this place. So I'm going to probably be in some bar, sitting there, order a beer, and I have a sip, and some girl's going to come up and say, "Hey, you asshole, I know you." Yeah, I could just see it. This poor doctor, he's going,
"Oh, God."
He never told me they were,
I have a sign about Cato's coffee crumpet on display.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So maybe they didn't see my face.
Well, I remember when you were going through this, because obviously Grandpa passed away or was about to die from it, and then you find out you have cancer, the same type of cancer.
And then my brother, who was younger, he found it too.
Yeah, and it was, so thank God I don't have a prostate.
And the guy across the street from me, who I told, he went in, got checked, he got it. And we all went to the same doctor where he got a discount.
There you go, a group rate. Well, you were talking about, because you didn't know if you were going to die, and you were kind of like, you're like, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with a bang. You were coming up with ideas about how you were going to take yourself
actually,
out.
I went to, my brother was living in Costa Rica at the time, and he had a charter fishing boat down there.
Oh.
So I called him up and I said, because I couldn't fly, they made me, even though, it was when I had the they put these seeds in, and the Canadian Transport Canada, whatever they call themselves, said, you cannot fly. I was flying the Airbus A320 at the time. They said, you can't fly because you're radioactive. And I go, come on, these things are, no. And they made this call. They just said, you can't fly. So I said, well, how long? For at least a month.
Wow.
Okay. So I get paid.
No, that's good. There you go.
I thought, so I called my brother up and said, here's the situation. I got cancer and all this. So down to Costa Rica, and we went out fishing on his boat, and we, for about 2 weeks, just, we'll have to tell, we
went down to Costa Rica. Did your dick glow? You were radioactive. Did your?
Yes, it was like those glow sticks.
Yeah, like lightsaber from Star Wars.
Yeah, the girls would pull on it, like it would turn
snap it.
Lime green.
Zoom, zoom.
Yes, you could always see me coming.
Never a dull moment.
I'll leave that story alone. That's not good. Well, this is X-rated.
I'm glad. And then, you mentioned skin cancer, because I don't tell most people
Actually, I had basil, it's called, on my hands. And it's really a low-grade cancer. But then just recently, I go in every 6 months and get checked.
Yep.
Get checked for cancer no matter what. But I went in and I found a little thing on my back, and it was melanoma.
Yeah.
But again, it was just if you get a good doctor, which I have, he's got a hawk eye for finding this stuff.
I need to go to him.
And they just took it out, and now I go back every 3 months for the first year, and he keeps an eye on it. And
didn't you have something bigger on your arms, though? Didn't they cut a big chunk out? Or that was the basil? You had your forearms.
That was basil, yeah.
But didn't you have some on your arms?
No, I had it in my hands.
Oh, okay.
It was all up. I've got a scar right here. You can't really see it much.
Yeah, because I went in and she did a check for me, and of all the places, they found a spot in the inside of my thigh. And I'm like, my thighs are massive, and they're like big dough biscuits, and they're stuck together. There's no way the sun gets anywhere near my hoo-ha or that area, but I ended up having a chunk of skin cancer. It wasn't basil, but it was a different slow moving one, but I have a scar about that big. She took a big chunk out of my leg.
Well, they have to take they call them margins of around these things. But again, it's, in my case, it was when I was a kid, we used to go out, because back in the Middle Ages, they didn't have sunscreen like they have today.
Yeah.
And so you're out there getting cooked all the time, especially in the Florida sun when we were coming down here all the time. Yeah. The other thing is that through my entire career, I'm flying aircraft at 35, 37, 40,000 feet.
Closer to the sun.
And you're above the protection, and you get the sun coming in through the windows, and you're sitting there, like when we'd leave Europe for Canada, and you're sitting there for 8-9 hours, and the sun, you're catching the sun, you're chasing the sun. So the sun doesn't change that much coming through the front window.
Wow.
And it's usually, you're leaving Europe, at least we were, around 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So your sun beats in on you all day, and so your hands are right there, your arms.
Oh, yeah.
And you end up getting this.
Well, you had some on your back, were you? Were you flying backwards?
I was,
Could that have been your motorcycle or anything?
No, I probably got that when I was lying on those stirrups, getting my prostate. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh.
The melanoma is different. Melanoma, you can get it. You get it from sun, of course, but but my back, again, when I was a kid, I can remember in the Florida sun, blistering. Mm-hmm. Well, the mentality back then, when I was 4 years old, I remember my mother, distinctly remember my mother and her girlfriends. We lived in Montreal across from a lake, which they used to dump sand down there. And they would take either baby oil or vegetable oil.
Yeah.
And they covered themselves in this stuff.
Yeah.
And they thought they were doing the right thing. And they go down and they lay in the sun. And it was like they were magnifying.
That was the same thing in the 70s and 80s. We would get tinfoil. And we'd sit out, my girlfriends and I, in our bathing suits, oiled up with baby oil or Crisco, and with these tinfoil things to get the reflection and just burn the shit out of ourselves.
Well, the thing about tinfoil is you can talk to aliens at the same time.
That was the days when,
But people, now, of course, you went through the SPF and all these, and then they found there was PABA. Oh my God, PABA was in whatever PABA is. Now all of the sunscreens say they're PABA free.
Oh.
So, or maybe it means that they put the PABA in, it doesn't cost you anything. I don't know. But
Jesus.
It's like we're guinea pigs.
Yeah, all these things that were good for us back in the day, even like baby powder, Johnson's & Johnson's baby powder. We used to all put it on our coochies, and shit like that. And then now it's like, it's causing uterus cancer and coochie cancer. All these things that we used to do. I mean,
but you live and learn, and that's how we've evolved. It's when you see these kids today, I need a safe space. Here I am sitting there at 5 years old having dinner consisting of a windowsill of lead paint.
Right, exactly. All our toys were full of lead and shit.
It's amazing I survived going down slides and on swings.
We were talking about that the other day, is like now they have all the foam stuff for the kids at the playgrounds, where we had metal contraptions that were under 80-degree heat, a metal piece. You'd come down the slide and take half your thigh off from a piece of metal that was sticking up, and you're like, I'm bleeding. All right, I'll go back up the slide again.
That's right. You slide faster because you're wet. But that's where they invented the trial lawyer back when we were kids. So
it was survival of the fittest back then. That was the thing.
Now they coddle the sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing with my, my unstoppable me mantra that I have. It's about being resilient, and I've been underestimated my entire life, and people haven't, sort of believed in me. But it's, you got life's a struggle for everybody.
But we didn't underestimate you.
Well, I mean, as a parent, well, I was the first child and a child with a disability. I mean,
we had the book on how to raise children.
Yeah, you guys were model parents.
When you were, when your mother knew you were pregnant, she bought the "I'm going to raise a child" book. And then look at this.
Yeah, and
so
then
it was like, go and have a good time, do your own thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually part of the problem with that now, of course, is in fact, we were talking, I was visiting my friend who was ill last week, and we were talking about the fact that these kids all have iPads and phones and everything like this, and instead of being out on the swings or going to, kicking a soccer ball or a football or whatever, but
Well, and then now we've just recently moved much closer to you here in Central Florida. So my husband Kevin and I now live with a forest behind us, and literally every day now, we're on month number 3 here living, and my mental health has been so great just because sitting outside, just watching nature. Today, we not only do we have a husband and wife. Raccoons, they have 4 babies. We also have baby woodpeckers we saw today. So we saw the woodpeckers flying and then going to feed their young. This little tiny woodpecker with his head's not quite red yet, but it's getting there, and it's just so wonderful to watch nature.
I don't want to burst your bubble here, but there is nothing better about your mental health, let me tell you that.
I am a Davis.
There's nothing wrong with the Davis baby, except it's alive.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Anyway, but that's the great thing about, I love the fact that I've had the ability to travel around the world and see some amazing places and, stuff like that.
And we have, coming up, we have some stories that we've done a lot of things together, but we've also done things separately, which are worldly, if you will. So I've got a few more probably than her, but age state is the reason for that. And also being a pilot, and I've lived all over the world. So we've got some of these things are, you could almost make a movie out of them. So we're going to get into those in the next few episodes. And
well, I have a bucket list, as everybody should have a bucket list. One of the places that I really want to go, and it's also your sort of influence on me in regards to I've been scuba diving in 4 countries so far. A lot of people can't even imagine that. Scuba diving is one of my favorite things, but I want to go to the Maldives to go scuba diving because you've always talked about the Maldives, and of course I've seen pictures, and it's not one of those places that's become highly commercialized. I'm sure it's a lot more commercial than it was back when you were there. You actually flew for Maldives Airways, right?
I spent a year there, 1984.
Oh yeah, so
and I started the national airline down there, or I didn't start it. I organized the flight operations of it, and I flew for them. Yes, that's at least one episode right there, because of the nature of the Maldives. I mean, diving wise, back then, it's probably not as good now because people destroy water as far as the clarity and everything. They dump stuff and everything. But the clarity there for diving is, I mean, I've been diving for years, and I've never dove anywhere as good as the Maldives. But it's an interesting place. At least it was back then, because it was filled, believe it or not, it was filled with intrigue and spies from all over the world, which I will enlighten everybody on.
Oh, okay. That is definitely not. Well, I want to just touch on the diving though, because that's. Well, I mean, that's
the islands. I'll say there's 600 islands, but an island consists. Some of them are no bigger than this house. I mean, they're the way it was explained to me is that they're the top of coral mountains.
Oh, okay.
The sand is a pinkish color.
Yeah.
And the place is at sea level. I mean, I think the highest place in the country is something like 12 feet. I mean, it's basically, but they have all these islands. They're lacking water, but desal plants and whatnot. And there's not a lot of rain there. They're right on the equator, I think 2 degrees north, something like that. Mali, the capital. But you get onto these out islands and you dive. You can virtually put your scuba gear on, sitting on the shore, walk into the water, and there's a barrier reef around each island. So you can just swim out.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get to this little barrier reef, which is either just above the surface or just under the surface, and then it just goes like this, straight down, and you dive down the sides of this, and the plant life and the wild, the marine life. I mean, there's sharks like white tips and black tips and tiger sharks, and it's just we had whale sharks that migrate through there, which we dove
amazing.
On, and it's an ecosystem unto itself. Unfortunately, when I was there, it was just beginning. There were 3 hotels, 3 resorts, and they closed. There was a Club Med that while I was there, they shut it down.
Oh wow!
Because it was run by the French, I believe, and the people were nude sunbathing.
Naked
it's a
French
Muslim
people.
country, and they said no, you can't do
the
that.
The Maldives is
it's
Muslim.
Muslim country.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh.
And now they've relaxed a lot now because they realize their bread and butter.
It's French naked people.
It's tourism. So, and now there's probably 100 or more of the islands developed. Oh, wow. They all have their own float plane airline that flies people out. Back then it was all by boat. You wanted to go, you had a 6-8 hour boat ride in
oh my goodness.
These wooden boats that were not very comfortable, trust me. So, but the diving is probably still very good. I mean, clarity of water, the water temperature is always the 90s.
Yeah.
And there's every type of marine life you could think of. Eels and name it.
We can take this podcast to the Maldives.
Yes, we'll do that. We'll go down there.
Definitely on the bucket list.
Unfortunately, it's very expensive.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Which is a shame because it eliminates a great deal of the population just by virtue of, it's hard to get to. It's not hard, but it's a long way.
Yeah.
And because you're about an hour and a half by air south of Sri Lanka and India, so it's a long way down there, right on the equator. So, and then when you get there, it's expensive because there's no real cheap. You don't have the Motel 6.
Right. Yeah, I have friends from the UK. They go out, I think, once a year. They now go for, I think, 2 weeks, and they hire a sailboat and a captain, and they just go out and
there was none of that when I was there. None of it at all. We had my company. In fact, the airport in the Maldives was a separate island. Now they have a causeway they've built between Mali, the capital, and the airport. And we used to have to take a boat. All the passengers would have to take boats. The boats were basically taxis that went back and forth. The boats down there were called Donis, Dhoni, I believe it was. And so we had our own boat, the company, and a guy. So I think if my brother was down there with me flying, and we would head over to one of the islands, which was 15 minutes away, and when we weren't flying, and we'd go diving, or just sit on the beach. And some of the bad things, though, like when I was there, is you'd go in the morning. We'd get over there in the morning, and you'd be, wandering around. You'd walk around the island, and even though they weren't supposed to, the Europeans were all naked.
Yeah.
So there it is. You're walking down and you see something coming towards you. And it was this 82-year-old woman, 300 pounds, naked, coming at you.
Floppy bits everywhere. Oh, man.
Yeah. Tits making little lines in the
Her nipples dragging on the ground.
It was like, oh.
This is paradise.
It's only 8:30, but it's time for a drink. But no, good. We'll talk about that.
On that note, well, we'll probably wrap up this episode with the saggy titties. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of Wings, Wheels, and Wisecracks. Please like, follow, and share. Hit whatever notification buttons.
Yep, and we'll be on for another episode here. And
comments.
Let us know what you want. If there's anything you need to know about what we do or what we've done or what we're going to do, let us know. We'll do our best. We look at all of the comments, good or bad, and she looks at all the comments. So she's the editor-in-chief.
That's why it's looking so rough. We're getting better. This
is her idea, not mine.
Yeah, and it's a great freaking idea. But anyway, that's it. And
stay tuned. Like us.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the song.